Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to ESOF here in Trieste, Italy. This session is a permanent insecurity, a science international strategy to support displaced and refugee scientists and science students. My name is Peter McGrath, and I'll be moderating this session, so let me briefly introduce myself. I'm the coordinator of IAP, the Inter-Academy Partnership, which is a global network of 140 academies of science, medicine, and engineering working together on issues of science for policy. I'm also coordinator of the TWAS, the World Academy of Sciences, Science Diplomacy Program. Both TWAS and IAP are based here in Trieste. Let me also flag up the International Science Council, ISC, based in Paris. Between TWAS, IAP, and ISC, these three global science organizations, we've been working together on this issue of refugee and displaced scientists for about 3 years now, under the banner of Science International that you see in the title of the session. So I'd just like to take a few minutes to give a little background on the topic. And in a way, it's an issue that really came to sort of public light during 2015, when we had that unprecedented wave of migrants and refugees coming out of the Middle East and heading towards Europe. But of course, it's an issue, displaced scientists, that goes back for many, many years. So what is the challenge? Basically, there are people being forced to flee their homes, being forced to flee their countries due to wars and civil unrest. And looking ahead, we're also being warned of the effects of climate change, of water insecurity, of prolonged droughts that may also force populations to move from their homes. And I think we need a coordinated effort now for the issues that we have with the wars and civil unrest, but also thinking ahead of what might such a reaction be from the international community based on these predictions of climate change and so on. So among the people, such issues affect the whole population, but amongst that population, of course, there are scientists, there are medical doctors, there are engineers, dentists, students studying for advanced degrees, and of course, these are affected just the same as anybody else. So as international science organizations, we're concerned that if such people leave their homes, we should try to support them in some way as they reach new homes. The premise here being that there have been great investments of time and money in their training, in developing their expertise, and the very nature of that expertise means that they need to stay abreast of new developments. So spending months or maybe years in a refugee camp or driving a taxi in a foreign country is not a good use of trained resources. These people can contribute to research projects in the countries where they end up. They can link with their diasporas, they can link with people back home. And the idea from our point of view especially is that eventually, if they maintain their level of training, they are able to return to their home countries when it's safe to do so, and help in the rebuilding process, and help in the training of the next generation of scientists, of medics and engineers, and so on. Okay, so how many people are affected in such a way? Well, actually, the numbers are very, very difficult to come by, and the best we've been able to do is a sort of back-of-the-envelope calculation based on Syria. So at the start of the civil war in Syria, there were 340 researchers per million inhabitants in the country. Based on last year's figures, there are about 6.7 million refugees, people who have fled Syria. So just doing a straight calculation, we calculate amongst those 6.7 million refugees from Syria, there are about 2,200 researchers. Where did they go? Where did they all end up? What are they doing now? We don't know. And just another newspaper report as well, during the COVID crisis in Europe, there was a call for doctors, retired doctors were being brought back into the hospitals and so on. But actually there are 14,000 Syrian doctors at the time waiting for their credentials to be approved in Germany. So just 14,000 Syrian doctors in Germany alone at the time. So this gives you an idea of the scale of the situation. So let me quickly flash up the three speakers we have in today's session. We have Kanya Al-Nakheb from Yemen, and she's going to give us a sort of very personal story, I think, of the situation that she found herself in and how she's managed to navigate the situations and over the past few years. And she's been helped by various organizations, and there are organizations out there operating in different countries, in Europe, in the US and elsewhere. Let me just flag up two or three. In the UK, the Council of At-Risk Academics. In the US, the Institute of International Education's Scholar Rescue Fund is very active, and also Scholars at Risk based in the USA. And we'll hear about others from our other speakers this morning. But while these organizations do talk to each other, it's a very sort of loose and informal network. So the idea of our TWAS, IAP, and ISC coming together as Science International is to investigate what an international response might look like. Who should take the lead? How can we integrate different national and other sort of other ongoing projects to assist these refugee scientists? And are the national projects actually fit for purpose? Are there any issues with them? And so on. And these are questions that we'll come back to, I hope, in the discussion session, and our speakers will begin to address them. So, as I said, we had the three speakers. Let me introduce the first one, and I'll hand the floor to her in a moment, and then as each speaker comes up, I'll give a brief introduction. So Kanya Al-Nakheb is an associate professor of nutritional sciences and a national of Yemen. She holds food sciences and nutrition degree from the University of Damascus, Syria, as well as a master's and PhD from the University of Putra, Malaysia, in Malaysia. She was working as an associate professor in the Faculty of Agriculture, Department of Food Sciences and Human Nutrition at the University of Sana'a, Yemen, But as I'm sure you all know, the situation there is not tenable, so she has had to leave the country. While she was there, she was also working with villagers in Yemen to improve their knowledge of nutritional food, so outreach into the rural areas of the country. From December 17 until February 2019, she managed to find a position at the University of Würzburg, Germany. And after that finished, and this is why I was talking about the fit-for-purpose idea of these projects that are assisting people such as Kanya, she needed to return home to Yemen. She spent some time in Egypt, I'm sure she'll tell us about, and she is currently, just since a few weeks ago, actually not so far from here at the University of Trento in Italy. So Kanya, over to you.
Hello, Peter. Good morning to all of you. And I'd like today to give a brief, presentation about my achievement and activity in Yemen, and also how TWAS network connection was very supporting for me to finding opportunity outside of Yemen. So the outline of my presentation will go briefly about activities and achievements in Sana'a universities, the status in Yemen since 2011, and the threats and challenges that faced most of the Yemenis, academic and non-academic people, and how TWAS was very supporting for my case in finding opportunities in direct and indirect way outside of Yemen. So I was an assistant professor and then associated professor in Sana'a University from 2011 to 2017. And I have some activities and achievements that I have been involved. We have established a new subdivision in Yemen called Human Nutrition, and then under the Department of Food Science and Human Nutrition. And I was the head of the department for 2 years. I was involving in academic teaching most of the courses related to nutrition and food science in the department. Also, we had open a master program in our department, and I had a 6 master student. I was a main supervisor and co-supervisor for them. 2 of my students they have finished their master, and 4 of them they were not lucky because of the war and conflict. They stopped and they stuck, and until now they couldn't finish or finalize their master. Also, I was involving in doing research. I have established also a small unit for Animal House, and I got a few grants from local grant and supporting with the University of Putra, Malaysia, with my supervisor. And also, beside the academic work and research work, I was involved in some administration work in Sana'a University. I was a representative of my faculty of the Sana'a University Academic Counselor, and also I was a representative of my department in the Council of Scientific Research Development in our faculty. So lab work and also teaching and doing research was the main activity in Yemen. Besides that, I was represent Sana'a University as a Fulbright scholar in US for 1 year, and we had very good paperwork from this fellowship as a Fulbright. I was represent Sana'a University as a winner for 2015 Federation of Arab Scientific Research Council in 2015 in Khartoum, Sudan. Besides my academic and research activity, I was involved also in doing some field activity, which was very actually supportive for rural women and men. So I was involved in a project that funded by UNDP and by FAO about the nutrition awareness for rural women and men in Yemen. We have almost covered 11 governorates in Yemen doing nutrition awareness and aware people about the good nutrition and how they deal with the malnutrition cases that we have a lot in Yemen. Another project I was involved in, supported by FAO also and UNDP, about rural women training on food processing, making jam, tomato paste, cheese, and pickles from local available resources. I was involving as a trainer and awareness for those women who are really in need to improve their income and get awareness in nutrition. So this project was very successful, and we had a success story. a few women, they can stand up with this small project, and they can increase their income and develop their income, and they help their family, because most of them, they are the main people who are spending on the family. I could also develop a guide of food processing for rural women in Arabic, and I had a program in TV weekly about the nutrition awareness. With all this activity, I never thought that I will leave Yemen, because I was happy with what I'm doing, and I wanted to contribute more to the development of the rural area and the students, because I came from the rural area and I want to help my people. But suddenly the situation is changing in Yemen since 2011. Yemen crisis began with the 2011 revolution against Ali Abdullah Saleh, and we have all this demonstration and protest in 2011 in everywhere. And Yemeni women has taken a big action in this demonstration and protest, because they want to change, the situation in Yemen. The situation was very difficult. From 2011 to 2014, it's getting worse since the Al-Houthi takeover in Yemen and control Sana'a University, and many things has been changed and was difficult more. So after that, in 2015, as all of you know, that our government called neighbor to help to stop the Al-Houthi, in the north of Yemen. But what happened? Because of the Saudi-led intervention in Yemen and Emirates, everything has been destroyed in Yemen. Infrastructure, education, human being, plant, animals, everything has been affected by this war and by conflict in Yemen. So as many of Yemenis, we were facing a lot of threats of problem. 4 years, no salary for the employment in Yemen, including all the university staff. There was no access to the basic of the life, like water, internet, electricity. It was very difficult to find. Also, a lot of cholera cases is separated in many places in Yemen. Besides the poverty and hunger and food insecurity and malnutrition, all this problem was challenges for most of the Yemenis. Besides the different, the control system in Sana'a University, also we had enforced disappearance for a few of the staff of the academic staff in Sana'a University, and we were almost 250 academic staff have been dismissed from their position, including myself. So I start to find or to think how to get away, how to leave Yemen in that case, in that very bad situation. So how the story starts with the TWAS assistant in 2016. I was awarded for the 2016 Al-Sabir Foundation Award that produced or that given by TWAS and OST and Al-Sabir Foundation, and I think it was a very good point for me to have a lot of strong and media and network connection. In 2016, also TWAS was helping me in providing grant program in basic science individual, and I could use this grant to continue my scientific life in Yemen. Even though the situation was not difficult, I could not finalize using the grant, but it was very supportive. In 2017, the situation was a bit difficult, and thankful to us for producing the film Science in Exile that produced by Nikon and prepared by TWAS. And actually, this documentary film, I was one of the scientists telling the story about the threats and challenges that faced most of the Yemenis academic in Yemen. And because the film has screened in many countries, including Yemen, and the film, the documentary film has the address and the links and the name of the organization that deal with the helping of science at risk. Most of the Yemeni colleges, they were happy with the information that given by this film, and they could know what are the organization, and few of them they could get help from SAR and from Scholars U Fund and elsewhere. In 2017, the situation in Yemen was very difficult. So TWAS again was the point for helping me in connecting me with a great professor in Germany, Professor Klaus Kretzberg, who was helping me, and he could bring me from Yemen to Germany as a Philip Schwartz Initiative Scholars or fellowship. Even though I don't know anything about this fellowship, but this great professor was helping me, and he found for me a host institution in University of Augsburg, and I was there for 2 years doing research and also attending seminars and conferences, and also I could really, manage doing my research and draft 2 papers for publication now in process, and also have a network connection with many researchers in University of Augsburg. But as we know all, most of these fellowship for scholars at risk are limited for 2 years. So after 2 years, the fellowship is finished. So I have to struggle again and to find a way how to get another opportunity or fellowship to continue my life in Europe, because the situation in Yemen was not easy at all. I was searching a lot, and I know, so it's very competitive and not easy to find, because most of these organizations, they help, people or at-risk scholars who are in the war countries. So I was searching anywhere, and for a long time, actually, and again, I got the contact from TWAS about information about the SAR project in University of Trento, and they linked me with Dr. Esther Gallo, and I was able to apply for this fellowship, and I got it. So I was like, after finishing my visa in Germany in 2019, I had to go back to Yemen for 2 months, and I was telling myself maybe I will stay in Yemen and I try to do something, but the situation was very difficult and more. So I thought that if I am outside of Yemen and build myself and develop my career and skills, maybe I will be able to help my country more when I go back and contribute to the development of the country. So because of the COVID-19, I was stuck in Egypt. I traveled from Yemen to Egypt, and I stuck in Egypt 6 months. And thank you for the University of Toronto. They were able to bring me to Italy. And since August 2020, I am in Italy now. I joined the Center Agriculture for the Environment under the supervision of Prof. Marco Ciulli, and I'm happy here, and I think I will have a great experience in Italy doing research. Being a scholar at risk in exile, I could be able to continue my scientific life and live with integrity and safe conditions. But I also have my own challenges and difficulties. Most of the fellowship for scholar at risk are limited within 2 years. And I think if you are thinking about the new position, it has a lot of challenges, and you will have to spend time more and think more about new opportunity with a lot of scholars and a lot of competition. Discontinuity in one place to do research and struggling with finding a new opportunity was also some challenges. Thinking about my colleagues in Yemen and my students who are really in need to finalize their master was a big issue for me. Most of Yemeni scientists, academic, and postgraduate students, especially women, are facing threat and risk by the current war and conflict in Yemen, and they are seeking for help to be able to continue their scientific life. And at the end, I'd like to express my special thanks to Edward Limbinen, who was the TWAS public information, who was the key person who could connect me with Prof. Klaus in Germany and Dr. Esther Gallo in Italy. And finally, I really feel that TWAS is a big home for science and scientists. And thank you for kind attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Kanya, for that very personal story that you've shared with us. The other day when we were rehearsing this, I see we've got two minutes maybe, a time that was given to you. So I wanted to ask you, you said back in Yemen you had 6 master's students. Can you tell us very, very quickly what has happened to them in the past few years?
Okay, well, in 2011, we opened the master program, and a lot of the students, they were very curious and very interested to do research in nutrition. So I had a 6 master student with me, doing research. Most of the research of the student, they were like a field work research and a lab work, simple lab work, because in Yemen we don't have activities. So those two students, they have finalized because they started early to do the research. But for students, because of the conflict and situation in Yemen, Sana'a University has become a place for army, so we could not go to the university. The animal house, all my animal, the rats and the rabbit, they die because I could not go and feed them and give them water. And the student has displaced from Sana'a to their home, to their villages. So now for students, they could not finalize their master. And I'm in contact with them, and I'm trying to find any opportunity for my students to get like a sandwich program to finalize their lab work, and they will be able to finalize their master. And I'll be so glad if TWAS and TWAS member, or maybe your network, can help on that.
Okay, thank you very much. And let me, before I move on to the next speaker, just remind the audience out there watching this on the streaming that if they have any questions, they can use the chat, and please sort of feed them through, and we'll try and either address them to a particular speaker or add them into a general discussion that we'll have at the end of the three speakers. Okay, so thank you, Kanya, and let me introduce the next speaker. He's Alain Prochain. He's an expert in brain development and physiology, but he's not here today to talk about that. He was appointed director of the National Center for Scientific Research, CNRS, in France in 1981, and spent most of his career at the École Normale Supérieure, ENS, where he's headed a research unit and chaired the Department of Biology. In 2003, he was elected to the French Academy of Sciences, and in 2007 to the Collège de France, that he chaired from 2015 to 2019. He is now Professor Emeritus at Collège de France, where he has his research group, Chief Scientific Officer of the company BrainEver, and guest professor at Shanghai Institute of Neuroscience. In these roles, he has been a very important champion for the TWAS project that he's been implementing at his institutes. So TWAS is he'll pronounce it much better in French than I will, but it's essentially the National Program for the Urgent Aid and Reception of Scientists in Exile. So Alain, over to you, thank you.
Yes.
Minor technical issue, please bear with us, but please start thinking of those questions you might want to put into the Q&A box on the platform. This is going to take some time. We can switch to the third speaker. Is that okay? We have, okay. I'm informed by our technical guys that it's coming. Okay. So Alain Prochain is about to share his screen with us, and then we will proceed. But it worked well in the rehearsal. Questions from the audience? We have a physical audience here while we're waiting. If there's any burning question, I can take that. Anything for Kanya? No? Okay. know how it's going to work, but let's see.
Thank you. Hello. I would like to ask a question about the gender dimensions. So to Kanya, if maybe she could elaborate on how gender impacts women scientists. So what sort of challenges do they face? And are gender dimensions exacerbated even further for women scientists? So just if she could elaborate on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't know if we can get Kanya back on the screen while we're waiting for Alain Prochains. Okay, there you are, Kanya. Did you hear the question, or shall I repeat it? The question was, are there any particular issues faced by women scientists that are having to leave their countries? Anything that you faced that perhaps male colleagues didn't have to go through?
Abby?
Okay, yeah. We'll put it, Sheila will make a note of it and we'll come back to it because it's also an issue for the next two speakers actually. We'll speak about initiatives, one in France that we're waiting to hear from Alain Prochains, and then the next one from the Netherlands. They have similar goals, but of course they've been established in different national situations and they work a little bit differently. So it'll be interesting to sort of compare and contrast the opportunities and the results that they're having. Okay, I've got the thumbs up. So Alain, if it's over to you. Yes, good morning, Alain. Please go ahead.
Everyone. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to present the program that we started a few years ago, say 3 years ago, and which is called TWAS. TWAS is a program to what we have started at the Collège de France when I was Dean of the Collège de France to welcome foreign scientists, in exile in our country. Now, this was in sort of a continuation of the 1936 Yemen Committee that had been launched also with the help of the Collège de France to welcome people flying Nazism and fascism in several countries in Europe. In between, nothing had been done in this country, and in 2016, it was a pretty specific period of time because we were heading for new elections in 2017, and there was a danger coming from the extreme right in our country. And the Collège de France, has decided to fight in its own way. It's a small way what we could do, but to fight this trend in our country, because as you know, the president in France has a lot of power. And we decided to have a colloquium and to push the idea that we should welcome people in Europe and in France in particular, flying from the difficult situations in their own countries. It happened that at the time, the Secretary of State for Research was Thierry Mandon, and he was pretty active in the field. And he asked me to start this program and to host the program at Collège de France, which I was extremely happy to do. Now, the program has been then associating a lot of institutions in our country, including CNRS, in CERN, in RIA, all research institutions, and also some ministers, research and university, foreign affairs, interior also, and culture. And all these people have put some money into the program, so we could really launch the program, not very strongly at the beginning, but we have been able to foster the program and to amplify the program and to welcome more and more people in our country. The idea is that the universities welcome select the candidates, and we help the universities by giving the universities half of the money that they need to welcome the people, and also to welcome their families, which is pretty important because it's not only the scientists, but also the affected environment that we want to protect. So we have a Patronage Committee which has 30 members that evaluate also the applications. I mean, the quality of the science is also evaluated, and the urgency. I mean, the urgency of and the importance and of the risk are also evaluated. So it's sort of mixed, I mean, combined evaluation that we make. We have been raising money, I mean, as much as possible. And we were helped a lot by Thierry Mandon at the beginning, and also by our new government, which is good. Eligible people are scientists, indeed. I mean, there are also doctoral students. We give doctoral fellowships, and they have to be in an emergency situation, as you can see here. And this is regardless of where they are. I mean, we even try to support people who have been already in France for less than 3 years, but that had to leave their own country. The money, I mean, I'm blocked. Okay. So today, I mean, we know that after 3 years of existence, we have been welcoming 222 scientists. And because we got some money from Europe, which was a big help, I mean, we applied to a European program for welcoming scientists in exile. We could launch for a second year. You know, the difficulty, as was mentioned by Kanya, is that after 1 year, I mean, if we don't have the money to pursue the help, it becomes very complicated. So in this case, we could accompany the scientists for a second year. And this, they are all shared between something like 80 universities, I mean, or we say French higher education institutions and research bodies, but in fact, it's primarily universities, CNRS, and big institutes. The gender is pretty balanced, with 44% of women and 56% of men. And we have senior researchers and university professors, not a majority. The majority is postdoctoral researchers and lecturers. And we have started a year ago, I mean, the PhD student program, which I think is very useful for these people. So the type of fields, well, it's a majority of social science and humanities. And we have science and technology and environmental science, which includes agriculture, and the type of work that Kanya was sort of illustrating in a very nice talk. The people, they come from many, many countries. I say Turkey has provided a lot of scientists in exile. Syria is also top on the list. This is sort of ranking of the number of people. As you can see, we have Yemen in position 5, but people come from all over the world, and the situation is not improving, unfortunately, I mean, worldwide. So it's pretty, I hope the program will continue for a long period of time. So we have, as I said, we have 80 host institutions, and but there are some that are more active than others. In particular, I mean, 9 institutions in the country, I mean, host more than 5 scientists. I understand it's not a lot, but it's what has the program is pretty novel, and I hope we can do better in the future. Well, 40% are in Ile-de-France, which is Paris and the suburbs, more or less. But this is normal. I mean, it reflects, I mean, the situation in the country where 40% of the science is done, I mean, in this area. We have, as I said, a lot of social science and humanities. I mean, about 60%, which is not bad. Now, the funding, I mentioned the funding we have. So we have the money from the government, and in fact, this was very helpful. And I was not, I must say, expecting it at the beginning, but this is very nice. It has been pursued by the new government, so it's, we still receive money from them. We get some private funding. We've raised money from industries. I cannot mention all of them because of the time. I don't want to take too much time, but private people have been very active in giving money to the program. And as I mentioned before, I mean, we got help from the Asylum, Migration and Integration Fund, I mean, which is a European fund. And this has been very, very helpful. I mean, Europe has been very helpful because this has been decisive in allowing us to double, I mean, the team's workforce. We could hire more people at the Collège de France to take care of this program, which is pretty demanding, in fact, in terms of people and space. And we have tripled our budget. So this has resulted in an increase in the number of researchers. And this has also allowed us to do something which is very important. And I think that Kanya pointed to that, you know, that once the program is over, we cannot keep the people forever. They have to integrate in the country. I mean, they wish to go back to where they come from in a better situation and contribute to the development of the science and education in their own country. But when they cannot, and this is unfortunately what happens in most of the cases, well, we have to do something to integrate them in the scientific community in France or in Europe or in a safe country. But this help of the European community has really allowed us to start developing programs of integration. And I think this is where we want to go, because it's good to help people for 1 or 2 years, but then you cannot let them in the void. I mean, they have to be helped to continue their scientific and personal life, indeed. So in fact, what you see at the end of this slide, Project UXIL, and is part of this will that we have to integrate people better, while keeping a link with their own country. This is University in Exile. Okay, I mean, it's what we would like, because most of the program has addressed to scientists, you know, researchers, but not so much to professors. So there is not an economy. I mean, indeed, I mean, you can be a researcher and a professor. But in this case, we would like to have some sort of academia in exile, let's say academy in exile, where people can teach in their own language and can form a community and reach to their own country in their own language, not to become split from their own culture. And this we think is very important. We had started this UXIL program, which was unfortunately stopped by the COVID crisis, but with hope, I mean, with luck also, the crisis will be terminated in the few months from now. I mean, and we'll be able to resume the development of this very important program for the integration of professors, and also for, as I mentioned, maintaining the link with their own culture and language, and address themselves to their community, also their community in exile. So we shall try to develop the international partnerships. I mean, you know, for example, with organizations like the Philip Schwartz or Scientists at Risk organizations, and they are so we're trying to work with them to start common programs and to participate in joint projects. And indeed, I mean, our role, our function beyond helping the people concretely is to, as a matter of principle, defend the academic freedom and support the scientists at risk. So this is what I had to say. I'm very happy that I could present this program, which is very dear to my heart, in fact, since it happened that I was Dean of the College when we started the program, and I thank you for your attention, and I'd be ready to answer questions if there are. Okay. Are you done?
very much, Alain, and you've also managed to stick to the time, so thank you for that. It's very interesting to hear about the project UXIL that you mentioned there. Maybe we'll come back to that in the discussion later. And also, if I understood correctly, most of the support you give is for 1 year and perhaps for a second year. Would that be correct?
Yes, this is correct. And we understand it's not enough, but we wish to do better. And we wish to prolong by a real, unstable integration in the community. Not necessarily in France, but in a country where people are free to work and not threatened by the situations. So for students, if they or postdocs, if they do well, then they are in the situation of any French postdoc. They have to find a postdoc somewhere in the world or find a stable position in France. But for people who are at a later stage of their career, for example, professors, it can be extremely difficult. And so yes, the continuity and the prolongation of the help is a major issue, in this program. But not only in this program, in most of the programs at the international level.
Right. Okay, thank you. And the very final point you touched on about the freedom of scientists, of course, ties in with the whole theme of ESOF 2020 here in Trieste, of course, on freedom for science and science for freedom. So it's one of the reasons, I think, why this session was selected. So thank you, Alain. Let us move on to our third speaker. We have Dr. Marie-José Van Tol, also trained as a neuropsychologist and cognitive neuroscientist, but again, not going to talk on those topics with us this morning. She's an assistant professor at the University Medical Center in Groningen, the Netherlands. Her scientific research concerns the role of brain functioning in development and perpetuation of psychiatric disorders, including depression. She's a member of the Dutch Young Academy of the Royal Netherlands Academy for Arts and Sciences and co-chairs the Internationalization Working Group for the Dutch Young Academy. It was actually the Dutch Young Academy that initiated a Science Buddies program for scholars at risk. And as a spin-off of that, the Hestia program was initiated in collaboration with the Dutch Research Council, which supports scientists and scholars with a refugee status with a scholarship in the Netherlands. And the Hestia program will be the topic of her contribution. So over to you, Marie-José.
Thank you very much for this very kind introduction. I hope you can hear me well. It's an honor to speak to you and to tell about the initiatives that we undertook and also to ask for your input on how to continue this. Because as Peter said, we are running a Hestia program, which is a funding scheme supported by the Netherlands Research Council. And we're currently in the process of evaluating this program. And especially also after hearing the contribution about the TWAS program, we're very eager to learn on how we could do this and how we can change it to have even more impact. So you already kindly introduced me. This is me in a picture and my field of study, which I will not be talking about, but just to give you an idea. So where the Netherlands is situated and Groningen is located in the far north of this small country. So I'm a member of the Dutch Young Academy, which is an academy of 50 people. And every 10 years, or every year, we select 10 new members and 10 move out of the academy. So we always stay a young and kind of fresh academy of 50 scientists from all disciplines. We work on several topics related to interdisciplinarity, science policy, and also the connection with society. And one of our working groups is on internationalization, where we both try to improve the inclusiveness of Dutch Academy for researchers coming from all over the world and finding their way in. but also to connect with European and global academies. And it is related to also the connection with the Global Young Academy that we, in 2016, started to think about a program of reaching out to scientists in exile or people who needed our help. And I think it's important to say that also scientists and scholars are often perceived as threatening and therefore also targeted in earlier stages. And also that many of the host institutions, they work, struggle to gain access or to get accepted, or they struggle to get access to gain access to a professional network after they move to another country, and that it is therefore that they need our help. And we also should or have the responsibility to do this to help prevent also the loss of future scientific discoveries and also the national capacity and expertise that is essential to rebuild the countries after the conflict is over. And of course, as a Young Academy, we focused on supporting our peers, and these are early career researchers. We started talking about a Science Bodies project, and in science in the Netherlands, it's wetenschap, which includes both the sciences and the scholarship, so the humanities. And we started a Bodies program where matches could be made. So people who gained a refugee status in the Netherlands could be teamed up with a Dutch scientist. And one of the great examples is Malek Rabah, who entered the Netherlands from Syria, and he had a master's degree education, or he had a university education, but not one fitted to work in the Netherlands. And via connections with Professor Benon Tabi, who is a professor in ethics of technology, he learned about the programs in the Delft Technical University. So he started studying sustainable energy and technology, and in this way found a home and a way to live with his family. So it gave him access to programs. He said that it saved him a year of searching for what he needed. But also this program for other refugee scientists helped them to learn to know the rules easily, the culture, the institutes, how things work, where seminars are. There's so much to know that is not easy to access when you're from outside, and even I can imagine if you're under a lot of personal stress. So that was the aim of this project, and it was very successful. And we started talking also to the ministry together with the Society for Highly Educated Refugees, so for refugee students. And came up with the idea for the Hestia Impulse for Refugees in Science, which is a funding scheme where Dutch scientists who are funded by the Netherlands Research Council can ask for kind of a co-project where scientists with a refugee status can apply for. So it's embedded in a larger project, so they can kind of also move along with what is already running. So it's aimed at refugee scholars, and the first round of the project was funded for only 1 year. And I think we already heard that that's relatively short. So we already in the second and third pilot year extended this to 18 months, but I understand that again is quite short. So the call is now open. Actually today there's an information session about the program where people can learn about it. So it works as scientists submit a proposal, so scientists funded by the Netherlands Research Council, and then later on the matchmaking will take place with the refugees who are interested in joining this program. So this is the launch of the program, which was in 2018. So the Minister of Higher Education was present there, Minister Ingrid van Engelshoven, and it was a very festive event. And also here I have beautiful pictures of the awardees. I can say a bit about the type of scientists that applied. In the first round, we had 45 people who applied, but we only had 18, or I think 12 at that time, positions that could be awarded. And in the next year was 21 people who indicated they wanted to take part in the program, and we could only award 9. So especially compared to the French program, it's more limited in size. We had €1 million for the full 3 rounds, so that's not a lot. The gender distribution in the Netherlands is so that the majority is male currently of the refugee scientists who apply. So we also need to see how we can, if we should improve or pay attention to that. I think it's nice to say that the projects are in all different fields. So there's one related to traumatic stress after fleeing from your home country and the effects of children. So that's very related to the social sciences, but also the context of the people fleeing their country, but also completely unrelated in the fields of oncology or machine learning and microbiology. And I think we now have a lot of awardees, laureates that we also will include in evaluation of the program. And so we're preparing for the evaluation. Your input is welcome. And also we're very open to other initiatives. And I'm extremely also interested in the UXL program that Professor Prochon just presented. So yeah, the floor is also open for input, questions and suggestions, because we think this is very important. And we seek ways of how we easily can, buddy for more people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mary. And again, just to summarize, the Hestia program here gives 18-month fellowships, and you gave 12 positions the first year and 9 the second year. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
And now you're in a review phase. So Alain, in his presentation, he said they were reaching out and talking to the Philipp Schwarz initiative in Germany and some others. In the evaluation that you're beginning now, are you looking across borders and looking at other initiatives in other European countries at least, and sort of doing some sort of comparisons?
Is this a question to me or to Professor
A question for
Prochon?
you, yes.
Yeah, we are. We're also within a recent meeting of the Global Young Academy. We also shared what other initiatives are there worldwide, specifically related to early career researchers. And we learned about the Scottish initiative, where refugees are also invited to be a member of the Scottish Young Academy. So this is also a way to include early career scientists in the professional networks. And another program was from also the Global Young Academy that have a global mentoring scheme where scientists can team up. But I think it's great to learn about what other national initiatives there are that are not specifically aimed at early career researchers, but kind of cover the full range of career stages. Okay. So this will definitely be something we'll be reaching out to kind of move into the next phase.
Mm-hmm. So thank you, Mary. So that concludes our 3 speakers, and let me remind you that we have the opportunity for those watching via streaming to send us questions. We've received one. Let me read it now, and I'll give the panelists a chance to think about an answer. It's not clear who it's come from, but the question is quantitative data available for the de-skilling of refugee scientists? De-skilling, so I guess how quickly, how fast they may lose the skills that they have when they are forced to flee from their homes. We had a question also from the floor earlier on any sort of gender impact or impacts on gender of being forced to flee from your homes, or the the opportunities available. Alan, in particular, you mentioned, I think, a gender balance amongst the people that your PAUSE program has been able to assist, of 44% women to 56% men, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But perhaps I can put the question to Kanya. I mean, were there any difficulties that you faced as a woman that maybe male colleagues leaving Yemen did not have to face?
In that situation, I can say no. As I mean, a female scientist, I did not have, I mean, like challenges to be as you know, to get opportunities, because I think. Okay, let us say that I am only the woman female scientist in my department. All the department staff are men. And I think I did not have any problem. And now we have a few women actually. They are now at Exile and they do a lot of good work. So maybe the gender not equal in Yemen in terms of female scientists. We don't have a lot of female scientists, but we have few of them, and they had the opportunity to be in exile and to continue their life. So in that matter, I think I did not have any problem, and maybe it was, I mean, good opportunity for me as a woman. I got more maybe opportunity, and maybe because I was outside of Yemen doing my PhD, and I had opportunity to also to be in US. So I had a big network connection with another scientist. I think I was lucky more than the male staff in my department. I'm talking about my department because now I'm only the one from the department. I am in exile. Every day I'm getting a message from them, emails from the other colleges, please help us. But the things that to bring them to Europe, it's not easy because of visa issues, and most of them they have difficulties in talking in English, and also they don't have a lot of scientific research published in good impact factor. And all of this organization, they require good scholars. I mean, in terms of experience and research and publications. So in that matter, I think I'm lucky. And for women, for female scientists, we had more opportunities than men. Even though we are not much, but few of us now in exile, and we are doing, I mean, we are try to continue our scientific life.
Alain or Marie, would you like to comment on the issue of
balance? Well, we had no, it happened like that. I mean, we tried not to pay attention to gender. And at the end of the day, I mean, we had a balanced situation, well, not exactly balanced, 46, 54, but, out of 220 people, it's sort of, it's the statistics, I mean, would say it's balanced. I hope it will continue like that, and if it were not, I mean, if it did not, I mean, I think we would have to take steps to maintain the balance, absolutely. With this scaling question, it's difficult to say because the selection is also on the basis of scientific quality. It's the emergency of the situation, but also the scientific quality, because we need to be able to secure the future of the people after also. So it's a scientific program. So indeed, I mean, the people we get have a pretty high level, I mean, in all disciplines. Something I did not mention, which I think is important, is that for the students, we secure 3 years, because the PhD program is for 3 years in this country. So this is not 2 years, 3 years. We secure the money for 3 years at the beginning of the hiring of the students.
Okay, thank you. Marie?
I think, yes, our numbers are still quite low, but we do see a disbalance. So there's more applications from men, and also more of the men are awardees, but it's small numbers. But I think we should also actively reach out and ensure that all scientific refugees know about the program. That is something we will evaluate, and we don't know much about whether actually they know to find the program and know that there's funds available.
Okay, and that question about outreach and awareness, I think we might come back to, but let me put to you the question that came in through the Zoom channel. If any of you have any information on this, is quantitative data available for the de-skilling of refugee scientists? Probably it's my good feeling is data is not available knowing this field, but if either of you have any information on that.
I wouldn't know about any quantitative data, but I think it's also very field dependent, whether that's the very big problem. So I can imagine that in certain fields where technology moves very fast, at least you need to catch up again and learn again. But I don't think that the general academic skills or de-scaling of that is a problem unless you're out of it for many years.
Perhaps if I ask the question a different way, in that how much or how long would the time lapse be between having to leave your country and getting a position in the Netherlands or in France under the Hestia or POR scheme, if you have any information on that?
Well, it depends on the security issue, but normally it's within 1 year. And as I mentioned in the program, we have also given the support to people who were already in France. I mean, within a limit of 3 years, okay? So this has been, I think, sort of decreasing the probability of what they call de-scaling, which is a bit, I mean, if I understood well, de-scaling meaning losing the ability or losing the technology or losing the... But I think 1 year is not a lot for people active in the field. And if some of them were already in the country, I mean, they were already in a scientific environment. But the fact that can renew 116 people out of 222 means that they had integrated pretty well.
And that's something also in the earlier session we came across, also the language barrier, because indeed for working in Dutch academia, it's important to at least master some degree of English. And that's just sure, or we are quite likely excluding scientists with other language backgrounds. Sorry, Peter? No.
Okay, thank you. I think we have another question from our studio audience here, so if we could pick that one up. And again, I urge you to submit your questions for the panelists through the Zoom chat.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for this very interesting discussion and presentations. I have a question for Kanya. Good morning, Kanya.
Good morning.
TWAS has produced a film on scientists in exile, and you are an important figure in this film. I wonder if you have any personal experience as far as yourself and a sense if this film has helped scientists like you, because it has been screenplayed in many places, at many festivals, in many universities and academies. So did it help you in any way? And did it raise more awareness on the condition of scientists fleeing from their country? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Actually, to be honest, before the documentary film Science in Exile, I did not have any idea about what are the organizations that they deal with the helping of scholar at risk or scientists at risk. And, you know, in the documentary film, after it was screened, they had all of these links and the name of the organization, including SAR and also Philip Schwartz's Initiative and Scholars U Fund. And it was very, I mean, for me, for my experience, it was very helpful and supportive. So I was, you know, searching in Google and try to find what are they doing and how is the application and what we can do for that. And the good thing is that this film was screened in university in Yemen called the Mal Universities, and as you know that most of Yemeni and scientists, or maybe in Yemen, the internet was a bit difficult at the last few years. I mean, people, they are busy how to deal with the basic of the life expense. Most of the academic, they, after they displace or after they dismiss from their position, they go to find small jobs to just, get the basic things to feed their families. So they are busy with how they feed their family and how they get the very small things with, a lot of very stress and bad sense that I cannot, we are weak, we cannot do anything. But I think getting this information was very helpful to me, and I was sharing these links to other colleges, and few of them actually they got help. Two of them now in Malaysia, two in Egypt. They got support from the Scholars U Fund, and one in Germany. The things that in Yemen, I think scholars in Yemen, we have a problem that most of the Yemenis, we cannot, they don't have, strong English, for application and so on. And the information was very good for me also. I was, I know, I was in contacting with another friend, and I tried to help them doing, the application, write a recommendation form for them, and try to share the link with a lot of colleges. Yes, it was, good for me, and it screens in many countries, and when I was in Germany, I think most of the scholars, they are from Turkey, from Syria, from Iran. In Yemen, we were very limited. We were very few, only maybe 5 or 3 of us as a scholar at risk. Getting the chance. So I think as one of the scientists in the documentary film, maybe people, they know that Yemeni scholars now, they are in retreats, and only in Sana'a University we have almost 215 scholars have been dismissed from the position, from the academic position. And now a lot of them, they are seeking for help. And actually for the, just now I know about this TWAS and the program presented by Alian and Maria. Even though I was in Europe, in Germany for 2 years, and I don't know anything about them. So I will go through the link and read more and see how can I help my friend and, share the link with them. I think as scholar at risk is, maybe this is the host institution, responsibility, or maybe strategy, that they should link the scholars with most of these, most of this organization, at least things, so we can help the others. So back to your question, yes, it was very helpful for me and for my friend, this documentary film, Science in Exile.
Okay, thank you, Kanya. And I think you're touching on important points that we want to come to there about awareness and connectivity. Sort of how do we raise awareness of the different programs that are available, and how do we ensure that the people who need to know about them are getting that information, and also the connections between the programs that there are in France, in Germany, in Italy, in the Netherlands, and elsewhere. And I hope we'll come to that. We have one more question from the audience. Matteo, look behind you, Matteo.
Okay, so thank you very much for very nice talks. I have a question on the future of what is the success rate, if I may say so, of these fellowship programs, in the sense that these scholars, they face a difficult situation because also they live in a scientific environment which is not the one they come from. And so do you have any sense of what is the success rate of how many? And also the other question is, how do you do the selection? How do you select? Of course, say, scientists can judge the scientific status, but as far as the other humanitarian aspect, how do you select for this? How do you evaluate this?
Okay, before maybe, I think there was one other question from the audience. Was it? Oh, yeah, okay. Well, we'll take this one as well. So while the speakers are thinking about the answers to that one.
Do you want me to say what we do here, and then Marie-Josée can go on with her own organization? Well, here, I mean, for the integration, I mean, is part of the big issues, but there are differences between students and postdocs and professors. And the students, they get into the program, a PhD program, and at the end of their PhD program, you are in the same situation than any student. You know, I mean, you have a PhD, and then you have to look for a postdoc, and then you start a career. So I don't think that in this case, I mean, they're in competition with the national students, but this is pretty fair, I would say. For the postdocs, I mean, it's more complicated, I would say. For the lecturers, a bit more complicated, and we're really working on how integrating them by helping them, giving a sort of a, you know, I mean, there are some programs to be able to respond to employment offers, and this has been started to help them to answer these offers. And for the professors, I mean, this is the sense of a exil stuff, you know, I mean, we really would like to have something which we call the academy in exile, and that would be able to give credits for programs, I mean, studying programs also in other countries. And I think it's very important that these people, if they teach in this academy in exile, would be able to teach in their own language, maybe in French or in English. I mean, why not? I mean, we have nothing against that. But in Turkish, and whatever, I mean, the language, the national languages, because at some point, they may be lucky enough to be able to go back to their own country and to contribute to the development of science and education in their own country, which I think is the best thing you can think of. Unless you integrate very well in the country, and then you can stay where you are. As for the way we select, indeed we have two things. I mean, one is the scientific quality, and this is not always simple, you know, because the university that welcomes the refugee, I mean, very often the people that apply have done some sort of work in France in the past. You know, they've been students or they've been postdocs, and then they've been back to their country, and then so they have connections. And in many cases, they apply to the university where they have done their postdoc or master in the past, and so in many cases we know them, and the university knows them, and can appreciate the quality of science. Yet, the committee looks at the quality of science again. Now, in terms of emergency, I mean, the danger, this is based on what the people write. I mean, you know, we have a dossier, they explain their own situation and why they have to leave their country or why they cannot return to their country when they are already in France. And sometimes we get some help from the Foreign Affairs Minister. So we are pretty, I think it's pretty fair. And we have 4 types of ranking: extreme emergency, I mean, and then we try to be as fast as possible. And when there is a doubt, we investigate whether there is a doubt. If there is a doubt, we have to be careful. But we do our best with the help of the national institutions. I mean, Foreign Affairs Minister, I mean, Minister, and we give, and they are very helpful, because they also know the situations in the country. So primarily is based on the declaration of the people. I mean, we tend to trust them, and I think we have to trust them, but sometimes we have to make some verifications. Marie-José, you have?
Yeah, for us, we of course don't know yet because the program started only. We're now entering the third round, and we don't know how people are doing after that. Also, we don't know how effective the program is in actually kind of giving scientists and scholars access to the Dutch academia system or within Europe. So therefore, I was also interested in the French initiatives on facilitating the step after finishing the program. But we don't know yet about that, and we also don't know how people actually fit in and how they're doing, because I can for sure imagine that people come from very stressful situations, and Dutch academia itself can also be very stressful. I think we also have to look into how people are actually doing, and if we reach out enough to also support how people can adjust to a new country and new living situations. We also have written an introduction guide to Dutch academia, which is very helpful, I would say, for every Dutch student as well. But that also helps, or we try to kind of make at least clear how officially the system is working, so people know about that. So that's something that has been, there's a big request for that manual. We're updating it now, but that's the technical aspect, and I don't know about whether people feel included, and also how that affects their well-being and also academic performance related to that.
Can I say something which is very important in these programs is that sometimes, I mean, once we have selected the people, we have to help them leave their country. You know, it's not always very simple. Sometimes their passports have been withdrawn from them. And, so this is one of the difficulties. Sometimes we have selected people and they were not able to rejoin the country. I mean, France. This is a pretty big issue where the help of the embassies can be very, very useful.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there are a lot of sort of legal and political issues often associated with such cases. We have one question coming in online before we come to another in the audience. It's asking, is there a resource outlining success stories of collaborations between displaced researchers and research groups in their host countries? Yeah. Do you have, let me read it again. Is there a resource outlining success stories of collaborations between displaced researchers and research groups in the host countries?
Yeah. I don't know if you have any personal stories related to that, Kanya, but so that's not an official resource, of course. This is not something we are working on currently, but would be kind of the next step also to ensure if scientists are able to return to their home country, how can we establish or keep that relation? And also there's a possibility for exchange of PhD students, for example, or master students. So you keep a connection and you can also help rebuilding the laboratory in the home country.
Did you say home or host? I didn't get it.
I would say the home country of the refugee. So to establish a long-term relationship with the academic, if that would be possible.
The question actually refers to host countries, but I think it's also it's also important to answer from this side.
Yes.
Kanya, did you want to say?
Yeah. Actually, okay. As the scholar at risk in exile, this is the most important things, to have a good relation network with the place or the host institution, because it's okay. How long we will be in exile? Maybe a few years only. And like in my case, I'd like to go back to my country when the situation is stable. if the situation is stable today, I'd love to go there. So the main things in my mind that to have a good network connection with the host institution that I will be in for, maybe cooperation for the future and, exchange the student or maybe attending conferences. Because we are in Yemen, we have very limited funding and, facilities to do research. So I think this is the most important things for me. It's okay, I'll be in exile for 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years. I'll have a good life. I publish and do. But the main things in my mind that to build a network connection with academic and researcher in the host institution. The simple things. I was in US in 2014 as a Fulbright, not scholar at risk. And I had a very good relation with scientists there, and they wanted to help me through peer program in Yemen to have 6 students exchange for 6 months doing heavy training in clinical nutrition in Grand Forks Human Nutrition Research Center in North Dakota State. But the thing is, everything is related to the political issue and the situation in Yemen. We could not do this project because of the situation in Yemen was not safe. And it was no MBCs and difficult for students to go there. And in Germany, after finishing, I was very happy to get email from the supervisor in the University of Wolfsburg to contribute to the Illumina program, to present my work and to see what we can as an alumna. Alumna was in Wolfsburg University, what we can do. And maybe now for the situation is a bit difficult in Yemen, but for the future it will be work. And yes, now also in Italy, I will be using my time in a very good way, and I try to be connected with many researchers to have, a good connection. But until now, there is no success story. There is no cooperation or no, exchange with students because the time was limited, only 2 years. And we're still struggling with the case of myself and, how to find new opportunity. But I think for the future, this is main things. This is the most important point, to have a good relation with the, colleges and good network and cooperation and maybe collaboration. And, now I'm trying to open my mind more and to see and apply for another fund. Bring my student as a PhD. Let us say after finishing this 1 year or 2 years fellowship, I want to apply for ARS or maybe another Marie Curie action. And if I get a fund or a fellowship, I will be so happy to bring my student, to have my own work with the connection with my home country.
Okay,
So, but we cannot do more in the case of my situation now.
Yeah, thank you, Kanya. I see time is ticking. Just to touch on this point of success stories, often the narrative linked to refugees and migrants in general is very, very negative. And I think collating these success stories and making them available is part of something that we are thinking about as this Science International grouping of TWAS, IAP, and ISC, as really part of an advocacy campaign. We have started on a new project just in the past few months. We'll be reaching out to colleagues in PAUSE, in Hestia, and other organizations that I've mentioned today to start sort of brainstorming on what this advocacy campaign might look like and how it might work.
Where should we send them?
Exactly. Well, this was going to be a sort of, we have 3 minutes left, and my quick question in this roundup will be, who should we be advocating to? And what should we be proposing? I wonder, we have a 1 minute each maximum, so if you, maybe Alain, want to very, very quickly, a quick final comment?
I don't know, maybe we should have a website. We have to be careful because we must not endanger the people either, And here there is a security issue that we must be very much aware of, that these people are in danger even when they are not in their country, because they have also left people in their homes. So So we have to advocate the success, to have a sort of, publicity, on that, but at the same time, we have to be very, very finicky in what we do. These people are in danger and their family are in danger. So you know,
Yes.
it has to be thought very carefully.
We have to be very sensitive to the situations. Okay, thank you. Maria Jose, final words?
Final, more general comment. I would also say that we need to indeed kind of have maybe a European portal, or to find have a platform where it's more easy to find access to certain programs. I think the visibility of all these initiatives is still a bit limited. And that we could also work on together with the European network of young academies, for example, or other pan-European academy organizations.
Okay, thank you. And Kanya, very, very quick.
Yes, I'd like to from all of you to consider the application from scientists from Yemen, not only the academic scientists and also the students, because they are really in a big risk and a big risk. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Kanya. So there we have it. It just remains for me to thank our three speakers, Kanya from Yemen, now in Italy. Welcome to Italy. Alain there in France, and Marie-José in the Netherlands. Thank you for your getting up early as well, for presenting here in ESOF 2020. Thank you also, I don't know if you can see her, in the Shayla, who's been reminding me of the questions that have come in from those watching on the live stream. So thank you for those. We hope we did them justice. And let me close here with a final thanks to the technical team. Everything went pretty smoothly, so thank you over there. Okay, let us close here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you to all.
Bye, everyone.